Okay. So, till now we have discussed about views, right? We have seen that how view, like, I mean, we map through the URL, we will map the URL extension with respect to views, and based on what request we send, we are able to see the corresponding view. In fact, view is the one which is deciding what has to be displayed, right? Either if it is some HTTP response, then that. If it is supposed to be some no some HTML page, then it is going to fetch that and it is going to display that. Now comes another key important stuff, which is the model. Okay, so let's see what exactly are models. By the way, do you know anything about models? Hmm? Anyhow, we have discussed it on a very superficial level, right? So
Yeah,
model is, yeah.
last time you said it was, it's data taken from a relational database based on some conditions,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. So basically, model is like the entity which is going to keep the data. Yes, that's the one. Now, again, we know that we have some default database and all, right? So again, that means the data is going to be stored in some database, right? So there are times when people get confused between model and database, and they think that it is one of the same. Well, it is not really. It is something part of a database, but not exactly a database itself. Okay. So then what is it? Um, you can consider that model to be like a table. Okay. So a table wherein it has got its own fields, it has got some way of accessing the elements. So when you define a table, you mention that what all constraints are there and all. So that becomes your model. Okay, that is what a model is all about. Okay. Now, when you say a table, what exactly would be in a table? You have some name for the table. You will have some fields inside the table. Now, fields is nothing but the column names, right? So those things will be there in a model. Okay. Now comes one thing that I would like to again show you. So let
I
me
have one
first of
question.
all, yeah, please.
Um, you say that model is nothing but kind of tables only, right? So
Mhm.
in case of relational database, wouldn't it be a redundancy to because that too is again tabular form, and we
Mhm.
can add the constraints and everything on the database level. So why would we need a model at that time?
Mhm. Okay, so that way. Well, frankly speaking, it is not like no, it is you are creating a separate, no table or something, and then you are going to integrate this or something like that. It's not like that. You consider that in your project you require a database which is going to store something, and this is going to be part of your project. It's not a separate entity at all. It is just that now consider this time ahead, you are not going to create the table and all directly inside the database, but rather what you're doing is in your project, okay, in your Django project, you will be creating some models, okay, and when you run some commands, that model will be like taking a structure which is same as that of a table in your database, okay. So that is what is happening. I mean, from your project only, you are going to deal with all your tables and all. It's not like you are separately creating things. No, you are doing it here itself. Okay.
But
Wait.
won't that be a redundant? I mean,
How is it going to be redundant? Redundant means
why
there is
can't we
some.
directly access the database? My question is why we need to create a model? Like it is again you saying, right? Again, it
Mhm,
would be tables or something which is representing
mhm.
connection with database or something. So yeah, it is maybe confusing for me.
Okay, wait. If you're talking about redundancy, redundancy means there is some repetition, right? Like if you have like multi paths to access the same thing or something like that. Redundancy comes in picture when you talk about that, right? When there is some repetition. Here, that is not the case. Here, what
Mm-hmm.
you are doing is understand one thing. whatever you are going to do with respect to your project, you are going to do it from Django itself, okay, from your project. Or now, since we are dealing with the entire stuff through the IDE that we have in hand, so we are going to deal it from here itself, okay. If we want to create some table, we are going to create it from here, okay. We are going to manage all our files, all our structures which we require from here, okay. So that's what we are doing. I mean, I'm not creating like separate two things, okay. It's not like here I'm creating something, there I'm creating something. No, when I'm defining a model here, the same thing is going to appear there in a actual form. It is going to take a form in a database. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, it is just like, no, here I have a model to refer to that table which is lying in the database. So whenever I want to access some data from that that table in the database, I'll be referring to the model to, do all those things, okay, at my project level. Okay, understood?
Okay.
Just understand that it is like kind of interface, okay. So like a server side and client side. At your client side, model, okay. At the server side, it knows the table. So when you have to get some data from the table, you are going to refer to the model which is going to fetch it for you, okay. And in the same
Okay.
manner, when you want to fill something, that time also you are going to refer to your model which is going to do that for you, okay. Now, if that is making sense, we'll do it. Okay. So now tell me, like, okay, wait. Before we proceed further, no, I have to show you something, right? If you make me forget things, no, I'll literally forget and I won't be able to show it. So let me, okay. So this was a new project, right? I created here, my project. What was an old one? I think that should I'll just move further and activate my environment. So it is env, then I have scripts slash activate. Okay. Okay, my environment is activated. Now, if I want to run the project, I should be inside the project. So let me go inside cd my project, right? Project. Okay, now I'm inside my project. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my server. Okay, so just see. I say Python manage.py run server. What error do you find here? Are you able to read this, by the way?
Yes.
So what does it say?
No
Okay.
issues.
It says that
Unapplied
you have
migration.
18 unapplied migrations. Your project may not work properly until you apply the migrations for apps, admin, auth, content types, sessions. Yeah, that's it. So if you look at this, in settings.py file, you might have seen these names, okay? Most rarely, because it is there. Yeah, if you look at this one, so admin is there, auth is there, content types is there, sessions is there, okay. So all these 4 apps as mentioned over here. But now tell me that, do you remember, like, you have created these apps anytime? Have you?
No.
Because I don't remember doing this. So even I haven't done this, okay. So that means that even when we are not creating something, some things are already pre-created and it is coming as part of it, okay. But the thing is, when you have some database entity which is going to be created, okay, so it cannot directly have tables and all just because it is pre-configured, okay. So in order to have the tables, again, you have to do some things, okay, some steps you have to follow. Now you might wonder that here, though it is mentioning that there are some migration which has to be applied, and even it is mentioning some some given apps and all. But frankly, why do I need it? I mean, till now I was using it. I was able to create an app. I was able to access the app, the views that is inside my app. I mean, pretty much my things were getting done, right? So why I should even bother to even look into this error that is being displayed over here? Because my things are getting done. But if you remember, at the project's URL file, do you remember that we used to see an admin path, right? We never really accessed it, but then it was appearing, right? That I mean, apart from the app one, we were getting the admin path also, right? This extension, this pattern was also appearing, right? But we never checked it. So let's do one thing. Let's try to see what is there. Okay. So in order to do that, let's follow this link. Okay, so I have one more like a bypass. Okay, one more path or one more pattern or say URL extension which I can use. So that is admin. Okay, what do you find here? It is saying that I should provide some username password. But did we create any username password in the first place to be able to log into this one? Have you seen me creating anything?
No.
All right. But then again, let's try. Okay. I mean, just giving it a try. Okay, it may not work, but let's see. If it is not authenticating, maybe it may work, but otherwise it may not. Okay, so it's not working. And what do you find the error over here? Do you read this line? It says that no such table, which is auth underscore user. Okay, so maybe no. Do you know how authentication happens? If you remember, I gave you an example of sign up page and login page, right? So you might have realized one fact that whenever you go for a new website for the first time, okay, you have not signed up or done anything with that, but you went for the first time, you visited a website for the first time, it asks you for sign up, right, for the first time. So when you do sign up, you basically provide some credentials, okay, and these credentials are getting stored somewhere. Now where it could be stored, of course it's going to be stored in a given database, okay, some table in a database. Okay, now whenever you have done your sign up successfully, the next thing that it will prompt you to do is the login, right? Now when you go for logging in for the first time, whatever credentials that you're going to provide, it is going to verify it with what data you provided as and when you have signed up for that website. Okay, so now what is happening? It is basically trying to authenticate, right? It is going to authenticate whether the data that you're providing is it the same one which you provided as and when you did the sign up. Okay, so if that table itself is not existing, where the data is supposed to be looked upon, now if that is not there, of course it cannot authenticate, right? And it can give an error. So the same thing is happening over here. The thing is, when I tried to log in, I provided some credentials, but where it has to cross verify that credentials is supposed to be this given table. Okay, but that table itself is not existing. Then how is it supposed to even cross verify it, right? It cannot authenticate it. So now understand that that means there were some tables, even when I didn't create, it was getting created, it was supposed to be created. Okay, and now understand that this that error, no, 18 unapplied migrations, was actually referring to these tables. Okay, okay, so there were some tables and all which was supposed to be getting created. Okay, but then since I never applied that no command, which is python manage.py migrate. Okay, since I didn't apply this command, it's not it hasn't created those tables in my database. Okay, so that's the thing. So let's do it. Okay, and tell me one thing, even if I do this, will I still be able to log into that page? What do you think?
No, I guess I need to You still need to create username and password for that.
Of course, yes. I mean, it is, even if I create the table will be empty. So how is it still going to authenticate? There is nothing to be authenticated with, right?
Yes.
So yes, I have to create. So yeah, let's do those things. Okay. So first thing is, in order to apply those migrations, I should run Python manage.py migrate command. Okay. So now let me tell you one more thing. Okay. There are like two commands. Okay. Python manage.py migrate, and another one is Python manage.py make migrations. Okay. Generally, whenever you are creating a model for the first time, you will be first running the make migrations command. Okay. And then you will go for migrate. Okay. So basically what is happening is, when you run the command which is make migrations, you are kind of no like telling, okay, what all changes you have done. Okay. Say for example, you created some models and all in some file. Okay. So that corresponding structure, what corresponding structure has to be created, or what all changes have been done, those things will be detected or found out by using that given command. Okay. So that command is make migrations. Generally it is not required to be run at the first place. Okay. First time, because first time I haven't created anything. So can you see, it gives me this message which says no changes detected. Frankly, because I didn't create any model at this point of time. If at all it is having any model, then that is created by Django itself, not by me. Okay. So the next command that I should run is migrate. Okay. Understand, one is for detecting changes. Another one is for applying changes. One will say, okay, these were the changes that this user has done. Another command, that is the migrate command. It will make sure that those tables are getting created in the database. Okay. Do you find something? So it is applying those changes. Okay. So you can see that it is going to create the tables. Okay. Which is required for like that given purpose, which is the no the that there were that some apps, right, which were requiring some migrations to be applied. So for those apps, these no these apply no, these migrations were applied. Okay. Now the thing is, as we already discussed, even if I create those tables are going to be empty, right? No use. I mean, I can show you better. Okay. So if I run the server, I'll just do one thing. I'll not try to go back to the previous page. So it is almost like refreshing, right? Okay. And let me try to provide something. I'm still not able to do it. Right now it is saying that please enter correct username and password. So that means that whatever I'm providing is not there in the table. That's just the reason it is asking me to provide which is correct. Okay. So now what I can do is I have to create some username and password. Okay. So the way we do it is, again, Python manage.py create super user. Okay. Super user. I can provide the name. Email I can skip by just clicking on enter. Okay. Password. Okay. Retype password. Hit enter. And yeah, I want it to be this way only. Okay, done. Okay, now I have created a super user. Okay. Now I can again run this. Okay. Run the server and we can see whether now is it going to let me authenticate the user. Now what do you find? Okay. Now you may not understand as of now. Understand that these are the tables. Okay. These are actually tables. It doesn't appear like a table, but frankly, And this, the one which we have now entered right now after we logged in is this is like the dashboard for the admin site. Okay, this is also termed as the admin site. And here you already find these two, which are tables. Okay, you have a group table and a user table. Okay, so if you look at this, okay, since I created a super user, I can find my the credentials for the super user here. Okay, so you can see the column names here, right? So there is username, email address, first name, last name, staff status. Okay, so these are like some of the column names that are there. Okay, I do have a provision. Can you see here there is an option for adding user, so I can add user from here itself. Okay, so if I say mm, mm, but here no, there there are too many rules and regulations. Okay, I mean while going for the username, password, sorry, mainly password actually. Okay, anyhow that got created, and here you'll find that there are too many more selections or additions that you can do. Okay, so you can decide whether do you want your user to be having super user status or staff status, what do you want. So those things also you can mention. If you want to have some security questions, that also you can do. Okay, I think that is also there. Okay, and you can provide additional credentials like no first name, last name, email address. So it's like no, there are some optional stuff. If you want, you can give. Otherwise, no, like there is some default value like null. So it is fine even if you don't provide. Okay. So now this is what we call like a table. Okay, this is a table. Which one? The user. Okay, user is the table we have, and these are the columns. Okay, understand? And whatever you find here are the rows or the entries. Okay, that we have made for the given table. Okay, understanding till here?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you people understand the use of those two commands, make migrations and migrate? So one is for detecting changes. Okay, if at all I did some additions, some new models I have created, so that means I have done some changes, right? So those changes will be detected by make migrations. Okay, and it will even create the required query, which is required for no generating those tables. But then it will only do till that. Okay, it is only going to do perform action till there. But these changes are getting applied, or those tables are getting created when you run the second command, which is migrate. Okay, so yeah, that's how it is. Now what we have done or what we have seen till now is the table which is pre-existing. Okay, so there are some tables which are pre-existing. So we saw that there are two tables, which is one is group, another one is user, right? So we can reuse them, we can make use of them. Okay, but anyhow, as of now, let's see like how we can create our own models. Okay, so we can do that. The way we do it is basically, can you see anywhere the models.py file? Anywhere, do you find it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you find it?
It's an app one.
It's an app one.
Okay, so under app one, I do have a file name models.py where I don't have anything as of now. Okay, so let's create a model. Now here, understand one more thing. The models that we create now will be like similar to creating classes. Okay, classes in how we create class in Python. No, the same way we'll be creating models. Okay, and another thing about the models is that there are some fixed fields. Okay, field type. Okay, so if you people have actually come across some database, you might have noticed that whenever we create some columns for these databases, no, we have to generally mention like what kind of data is going to be stored in a given field. Okay, So in the sense that if I'm going to store some name, okay, so then I can have a data type like varchar, okay, or if I'm going to have some some given column which is going to keep the data of the maybe salary. So if that is the case, then I can have integer type, okay. Or if I'm having some given column which is going to keep the data of date time, so there is a data type like date time, okay. So in the same manner, here also we do have some standard data types, okay. But in order to be able to make use of those standard data types, I have to perform a bit of inheritance, okay. So yeah, let's see how we do it. So I can say class person, okay, so my table name will be person, and it has to do some inheritance in order to be able to make use of those standard column types, okay. I mean data types for the column, okay. So here it should be, yeah, model, and you know that colon is required because I have to start this one, right? Okay, now I'll mention the columns that I want in my table, okay. So I want one of the column to be name, okay, and that has to be having the type char field. Now see that these char field and all, know whatever field name that I'm providing, these are some standard types, okay. It's not something that randomly I'm providing some name, okay. So in order to be able to provide this kind of or make use of the standard types, I have to make sure that I do the required inheritance, okay. So these are belonging to the models, okay. I mean this is a module, and you have the class model which is belonging to that, and that is the reason it will help me create this as a model, okay. So person is my model, which is nothing but a table, I mean a corresponding table is going to be created on my database, okay, whenever I'm going to run those commands, okay. So let's see how things are going to work. So we have this max length field. I can give that names can go till maybe 15 characters, okay. Then what we have, maybe name, then okay, let's have it as maybe age, okay. Age can be integer type, right? So models dot integer, okay. Can you see there is integer type, okay. So if you are like worrying about how to remember these things, in your I mean in the official website you will find a list of all these data types, okay. Standard data types, which I mean field types, or however you call it. I mean this is nothing but actually data types only, okay. So name, age, then what can I give? Hmm. Or maybe let's keep it as simple as that, okay. Name, age, not yeah, one more thing I can just mention. So email ID, email ID, and I can have this as email field. So yeah, this one, okay. And here also I can give a option that is max length, okay. So max length I can say, and I'm not going to create a longer one, so I'll just keep it maybe 8. Okay. So now this becomes my model, okay. I have done some changes at my models.py file, okay. And the changes that I've done is I want that a corresponding table should be created in my database, okay. For so that whenever I want to like no some add some data into this given table or into this given model, those things should be like added to that given table, okay. So yes, at my project level, okay, since it's a Django project, at my project level it identifies a model. At my database level it is going to be a table, okay. So yes, created the model. Now let's do one thing, run those commands, okay. Now if you see, I'll try to run the migrate command first. So it is saying no migrations to apply. Okay. Can you see that? It is saying that. It's saying that there is no migrations to be applied. Okay. So that means it is not able to find that there is any changes occurred. But frankly speaking, if you see, the migrate command is not the one which is supposed to detect changes, right? For detecting changes, I was supposed to run the other command, which is make migrations. Okay. So make migrations. Okay. So now what is it saying? It is saying that create model person. Okay. And if you look at this, it has created a file. Okay. Which is going to hold those migrations which has to be performed. Okay. So if you look at this, it is somewhere here. Okay. This one. Okay. Can you see what has to be done? It is mentioning. So these will be the fields. Okay. In my given table. Okay. Table name will be person. And these are the things which will be there. Okay. Understanding till here what is happening? So make migrations created the required migrations, or it was able to identify that there were some changes to be done, and according to that it has created kind of a script which has to be run in order to create those tables. But it won't run, it will just create things and keep it ready. In order to be able to create those things, okay, create the table, I have to run this command. Okay, migrate. Okay, so now can you see it is saying applying app1 dot so and so. Now this file is what is getting applied. Okay, so this was holding the migrations which had to be performed, and as soon as I run the migrate command, it has applied those migrations. So that means I should be able to get the table, right? So let's see whether am I able to do that. Let's run the server once again. Okay, and let me just go back to home. Okay, let's refresh this page. So was I able to do any changes? Do you find any new table here? I said, right, if you run that migrate command, it should get you a new table. So is it bringing some new table over here, or is it the same? Do you find any new thing, anything new at all? No, right? So be cool, understand? Yes, I kind of bluffed you, right? I said that it will be creating new table, but it didn't create. Come on, it didn't. So don't hesitate. Actually, it has not created anything over here, but that's not the fact. The fact is it has created table. Okay, it has created table, but it's just not appearing here. Okay, so then why is it not appearing over here? Now understand. Okay, the thing is this, as I said, this you can consider it as the admin panel or say admin site. I mean, you will find that in different documentation these two terminologies are used interchangeably. So this can be considered like an admin site. Okay, so here you can consider like admin is kind of the owner of this given site or this given page. Okay, actually I cannot say page because there are like so many other pages, right? As soon as you click and all, so you can consider this as the admin site better. Okay, now the thing is, since the admin site belongs to the admin, I cannot just have my table in this place without even taking permission from the admin, right? I have to do something in order to make my admin realize that no, I want some space in the admin site to have my tables that I have created to be displayed over here. Okay, so in order to do that, I have to basically do some registration. Okay, the way we do that is, now tell me, do you find any file which is related to admin which looks somewhat like admin?
Admin.py.
Yes, there is that admin.py, right? Yes, that's the file we require. So if you just go to that file, so here what we have to do is we have to register. Can you see here the comment also it mentions register your models here. So that means if I want to see my models to be displayed on the admin side, I have to register my models over here, okay, in this file. Okay, so first thing, dot, okay, under dot there is this models import, what was, yeah, person. So we have in the current directory, you have a file which is models.py, and in that models.py you have a class which is person class, okay, and that is the model that we want to register. So the way we do the registration is admin dot site dot register, yes, in bracket you have to mention the table name, okay, or say model name. Here at this level you better speak in models terms, okay. Just when you go there you'll find out that it's actually a table, okay. So let's go back here, let's refresh. Now do you find any difference? Do you find any change?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, so I'm able to find my table over here. So if I go inside and if I, now as of now, you know that I just created an empty table. So what was that? Now do you understand what is happening, Mahima, right? Mahima, do you understand what is happening?
Yeah,
Model
now
is
it's
something
pretty
that I am creating at my project level, okay, but the structure which is going to create at my database level is going to be a table, okay. It's not redundant, it's not like two separate entities, it's just the same thing, okay. It's just at my project level I'm referring to it as a model. At the server side or at the project level side, I'm going to refer to it as a table. That's it, okay.
Yeah, now it makes more sense.
Now it is even easy for understanding. Otherwise, you might have thought like two different things are being created, right?
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
server side, another one at the client side. Okay. Now let's see. Now if I click on add person, okay. Now, do you find that it is the same fields that I had in my, while I was creating the model? Yeah. So we have like 3 fields, right? So is it the same? Name, age, email ID? Isn't it the same one, right?
Yes.
So let's create them. So let me create new entry. Okay. Okay, now let me ask you one question. Okay, it is related to Python, just to see like how comfortable you are with Python concepts. I'm just asking this. When we talk about classes, class, that class is just like a template, or you can consider that it is more like a definition, right? But when I give some like features or some variables and all, when I set, okay, so what is that specific one? Okay, class is like general. So when I go for specific, what it becomes? What is getting created? I mean, if you want to go for the normal fruits. Now, if general, I'll say fruits, and if I say go for a specific fruit like apple, then what is that? If I consider that fruits became the class, then what is the apple?
Object.
Object.
It's an object. Yeah, correct. So in the same manner, as soon as I created the model can be, I mean, you saw that what I was creating was a class, right? So when I created the class, it gave me a template, right? It generated basically nothing but a template, which is taking in these parameters. Okay. So now when I like add some values to this, then what is getting created is an object. Okay. It is going to create me an object. Okay, so let's do something like add some values and all. Okay. Yeah, here you have to pay attention. These fields, now when I mentioned that when I'm giving names for that fields, I was selecting some specific standard field type, right? So those has got some meaning to it. Okay, so when I mention integer, I should mention integer only. If I try to give characters, it won't accept. In the same manner, when I say email ID, okay, it is expecting that @ should be there. Okay, so I can just give something like this. Okay, if I don't provide it in this manner, no, like @ if I don't provide and all, it won't accept it as a email ID. Okay, it won't let you save it. So now let's save this. Okay, now one of the entry I saved, and you can see the entry over here. It looks a little odd, right? It is saying person object one. So one object is created, okay, in my person table, okay, and it is just naming it as person object one. Okay, so let's do one thing, add one more entry maybe. Okay, so I'm sorry, I cannot remember too many names. Okay, let's see. I can. Okay, please correct. Can you see? Enter a valid email ID. So even dot also is required. Okay, so yes, let's do that. So that's what I mean. These fields, no, you cannot just randomly add anything. You have to keep it with the in such a manner that it follows that specific standard. Okay. Now comes this. Can you see there were like two entries made? The way the name is mentioned over here, it is kind of how should I say? It is not specific. It is very like in a vague manner. It is given that there are two entries and person object one, person object two. So I mean, if you see, if I do 10 entries, it is going to just show it this way. Okay, person object one, two, three, and so on, which is quite vague. And being a human, I cannot really understand this. I have to basically, if I really want to see exactly who is this person object referring to, I have to click on that and I have to see the details. Okay, if I click on that, I can see the details. Now this is not what I want. Okay, I mean, this is not I expected. I would rather prefer to see the names over here so that it is easy for me to identify which object is it referring to. Okay, so there is a way to do it. Okay, so what you have to do is, if you go here, and you know that what I said was, in that models.py file here, in this file, you mention basically the things that you want to see in a table, right? And even the constraints, right? So if your constraint is such that you want to see your objects or your entries in the form of I mean, with respect to the name, okay, or any parameter mentioned over here, you can do that. Of course you can do it. So there is a standard method, okay, that is the string method, okay, which is going to help you kind of translate your object in the form of a string. Okay, so let's do that. So def __ string __ and there should be the self method, or sorry, self parameter, and I can say return self dot name. Now name would be the most preferred way of referring to the object. I mean, right, I mean that the different entries that is made into my table, if I refer through name, it would be much better for me to identify them. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So let's refresh. Does this make more sense? I mean, compared to the previous one,
Yes.
person object one, two, compared to that, this looks much better, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so now tell me what all things we did for getting the model in place. We'll just try to revise it ourselves. So first thing, we knew that no, there were some models which were already pre-created, but then again, since those migrations which were there but not applied, okay, migrations came. Just because I was able to install Django, I was able to get the migrations, like, since Django is a framework which is going to help me do the web development part actually in a very efficient manner by providing some of the things like pre-done. Okay, So that's the use of a framework. Okay. But then again, though the migrations came in, but until and unless I don't apply it, now since the database is going to run locally, of course that migrations has to be applied on my local database. So I have to apply them, right? But I never really did that because I never really had to use a database in the first place. Okay. So then what I did, I had to run that command, which is python manage.py migration, right? Sorry, not migration, migrate, not migration. So python manage.py migrate, that command I had to run for the first time. And what did that do? That has actually applied those migrations which already came in with Django, but was not applied because those, those tables were not there because the database itself was not created until and unless I run the server for the first time, right? So that's the reason we had to apply it. Okay. So once you apply it, those tables get created. Okay. And that's the reason we were able to see those tables, which is the groups and the other one, which is users. Okay. Now, if you have to get inside the admin site, you have to log in, right? So if you have to log in, that means you have to have some credentials. And in order to get the credentials for the first time, what you do is you run the command which is python manage.py create super user. Okay. So using that command, you will get some credentials. Okay. You actually generate some credentials, which is username and password. Okay. And using that, you can log into your admin site. There you will be able to find your pre-existing tables, that is users and groups. Okay. So this was the first step that we did in order to get familiar with those two commands, basically, okay, which was python manage.py migrate and python manage.py make migrations. Apart from that, we also had to get a clear picture of admin site. Okay. So admin site was something which was again a website which is coming along with Django. Okay. So we do have a provision that we can remodify it according to our needs. But anyhow, still, as of now, that is not our purpose. So we won't do it. Okay. Then what we did, now we have this admin site, we have some models already existing, but then we need our own models because no, this time ahead, I have some specific requirements which needs to have these kind of fields. Okay. So then what I did, I created my own model. Okay. And where did I do that? Model has to be created for app. Okay. Inside app, there is this file which is models.py where you will be creating your model. And how do you create it? You basically create nothing but a class. Okay. Okay. The structure which you are creating in terms of Python, if you see, there's a class. Okay. Which is going to be a subclass for model. Okay. Which is existing in the module, that is models. Okay. So that way you create your first model in which you will be providing the field having some standard field types like char field, integer field, email field, okay, and so on. And once you have mentioned the model over here, it will, you will be running those two commands. First, the make migrations command to generate the migrations and to, first of all, to detect the changes. Secondly, for generating the migrations. Then what you do, then you will be running the migrate command in order to apply those changes, in the sense to create those corresponding tables in your database. Okay. So that will be done next using migrate command. But even then you won't be able to see your model in your admin site, which is understandable because admin site belongs to the admin, and admin is not aware that this model has to be displayed over there, right? It is belonging to the admin. You have to acknowledge, right? You have to kind of make your admin aware of it. So the way you do it is basically registering your model with respect to the admin site, and that is done using this file, which is admin.py. Okay. There, first of all, you will import your model, then you will perform the registration using this given command. Okay. Once you do this, then you can find your model in the admin website. Okay. And yeah, that's half of the thing. Then what you do, yeah, now you know that model is nothing but table. So when you make some entries, it will display those rows based on some parameter. Generally, it goes for the first name. I mean, the first column, which is generally in our case it is name, right? So it went ahead with the name. Okay, but since I mean initially we didn't have the string method, right? We didn't define the string method. So since it was not knowing which, I mean, with respect to which name it should display the objects, so it was going with a vague naming, okay, which was like making use of the table name and then mentioning as object 1, object 2, object 3, which was too vague, okay. And we didn't really, I mean, it doesn't make sense to humans at least, okay. Machines may be able to understand, but not us. So then what we did, added a method, okay. This is a standard method. Let me say that this is a standard method, okay. Again, and it is used for generally to convert your object in a string form, okay. So then using this default method, what we did, we tried to return the name. So this time ahead, whenever you are seeing a new entry in your table, you will be actually seeing that in terms of the name, which makes more sense for you, right? So this is the no overall thing about models. Okay. Till here, are all of you clear? Understanding?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So yeah.
Just want to know about migrations.
Hmm?
Just want to know. I just want to know a little bit about migration. So first time you type migrate,
Mhm.
right, and then you go to models, you create the class, and then you type make migrate, right?
Mhm. Yeah. The thing
And
is, no,
then
first time the
yeah,
migrations was not done by me, right? Because those migrations were already coming along with Django. So that time I didn't had to run the make migrations command. I just had to do make, I mean, migrate command just to get those migrations applied, okay, or the tables to be created.
okay. And to apply the tables that you have created in models, you do make migrate, right?
Mhm. Yeah, when I create
And
my model,
yeah,
I have to detect those changes, okay, the changes that has taken place, and I have to basically get those migrations done. And you might have seen that when make migrations command run, it will create a file which is going to hold a kind of structure which I want to see in my table. I mean, in my database, okay. So this is going to create the table, okay. So that is all about what migration I want to be applied. And when you run the migrate command, that will actually apply in the sense create the corresponding table which is going to have these fields and all, okay, having this name and these fields, okay. That's how it is working.
so you after make migrations, and after make migrations, you type the migrate command again.
Yes, and you have to do it each time when you are adding some new model to your file. You can do it all together, like you created multiple models together and then you go for a single time, okay, you run those two commands once. That is possible, but otherwise if you are doing it in like separate occasions, you have to run those two commands each time you do it, okay.
Mm.
Yeah, so this was all about models, okay. So models, I mean, at the project Django project level, you have models, okay, and at the corresponding database level, what you have is tables, okay. And now, yeah, now comes the thing about forms, okay. I want to discuss one more concept with you, so let me just stop this for time being. Mhm. So guys, I want to discuss something about forms, okay. Now tell me, how many of you know what is a form? I mean, in a normal like HTML way only. If you know about HTML forms, then that's fine. Hmm? Do you know what is a form? Okay, you have actually come across forms, you know. when you go for some login page, sign up page, or even the template that you have for, the adding contact in your mobile phones. So those are all actually forms wherein no, it is giving you some some space wherein you fill in some credentials or some parameters. So those are actually what you call a form. Okay. So yes, the reason that we have to understand forms is because, you see, the thing is, now understand one thing: database is a dynamic entity. Do you know why I'm saying that database is a dynamic entity?
Yeah, yes, because I think you can keep adding data to it. I mean, the size is not fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you see, database is something which is like, you can consider it like a centralized, an entity. Okay. And there will be some applications, or maybe you yourself from your terminal, you might try to communicate with a database. Okay. Or you are using the database management system. Okay. Which will have its own utility through which you can communicate with the database. Now there are like, consider like n number of the what should I say, link connections which is being created for your database. Okay. Or there might be no like, for a given application only, there might be multiple instances of the application running, and they are like continuously filling data in your database. Okay. So database is like ever changing. There is people, there are applications which is filling data into your database. There might be people who are running some query against your database. There might be people who might be taking some data from your database, or there might be some backup running in your database, or there might be some other like health checks, or some other processes which is running in your database because of your database management system. Like there are like n number of things running on a database. Okay. So it is like ever changing. Every now and then, if you just check what all processors are running at the background, you'll find like so many are there. And databases get corrupt quite quickly, especially those which are like having too many data, which is having tables which are really bulky, storing terabytes of data. Okay. So those kind of tables are like prone to getting corrupt every now and then. Okay. And the reason is because of these many actions that is being performed. Okay. Like when you have so many things happening to a given single entity, you can expect that there are chances that something can go wrong. Even sometimes, even applications trying to fill data which is having some issue, some error. Okay. That happens. Now, why I'm saying all this is because, you see, though I had the database and I had the table appearing on my admin site, but do just tell me one thing. Okay. You have your website, you have your database, and you have the credentials to directly access your database. But is it like good? Is it a good approach that you are letting somebody else to access your database and fill in the data? Right. Say for example, you go for the Facebook. Okay. And you are signing up for the first time. Okay. And Facebook is letting you directly go to its website, its database, and it is letting you to fill the data directly in the database. How would you feel? Is it going to happen that way? Is it going to, no, they are going to be so cool people and letting you do that directly on their database?
No.
That won't happen, right? Yeah. So that's next to impossible. They know they know how important a database is, and how difficult it is at times when things get wrong with the database, how difficult it is to recover it. Okay. Seriously, no, I'll tell you, it's a really headache job. No, it is like ticking time bomb when you are dealing with databases. Okay. So when you have to deal with a entity which is like so dynamic, which is ever changing, you cannot really let people directly access it and corrupt the data. Okay, I mean, somebody tries to fill in which is incorrect data, and you cannot just let them know, access your database, have the credentials of your database, and mess around with your database. If somebody just access your database and tries to delete some data, it's really not good. It's not really a good practice. First of all, not a good practice. Secondly, you are kind of compromising with the safety of the data. Okay, so now what comes in picture is the forms. Okay, so what you see whenever you go for some websites like Facebook and all. Okay, so what you see, or hacker rank and all, right? Mm, okay, I think I haven't logged in, or am I? Okay, so yeah, this kind of things, whatever you're finding, the column and all wherein you're filling the data. So these are what you call the form. Okay, wherein it is providing you with some tabs wherein you can fill in the data. Okay, so this is what we call a form. Okay, so when you go for sign up, again it is asking for some data and all, right? So these are what you call a form. Okay, so now why we need these forms is because you want a safer way of accessing the database. Okay, if somebody wants to sign up to your website, you don't want to give them the access to the database directly so that they can even delete some users who are already signed up with your website, or you don't want that they provide some wrong credentials and that too all done directly on the database. Okay, you don't want all that. So what you do is you provide them with a form, okay, which is maybe linked with a database at the background, okay, and that's how generally forms are useful. Okay, useful forms would be something like that. And there are forms which really doesn't do anything, okay, which can just redirect you to another page. That is also possible, which doesn't perform the task of authentication. Okay, so there is these two terms, guys. One is authentication, another one is authorization. Try to understand the meaning of these two. Authentication is all about like if the username password you have entered it correctly, so it will validate you to be able to access some given website or to be able to enter. Okay, authorization is when you are going to make use of some services or making use of some privileges. Okay, like say for example, for deleting some given post or to add some new post. For that you need authorization, permission. You need permission to do those tasks. Okay, so these two terminologies should be clear first of all. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to understand how to create a form. Okay, and how we can create first of all a simple form which is generally useless. Okay, and then from there we'll try to see if we can find out what is a model form. Okay, so there is something like model form as well. Okay, so okay, we'll do one thing. We'll get back to our this one, and tell me one thing, be it form, be it model form, be it whatever it is, where is it going to appear when we are dealing with a web page or website? Hmm? I mean, what we are doing is all about web development. So everything is going to appear in terms of the browser. So you tell me the form is just randomly going to appear like a pop-up, or where is it going to appear? Like where was your image appearing?
On the main page, right?
Yeah,
Top left
okay.
corner.
It is going to appear in an HTML page, right? So yes, we have to have a HTML file, okay, for that. So yes, we'll do one thing. First of all, we'll go as per our general tendency. So first thing is we'll create this one, that is view. But before we create view, let's create a more form itself, okay. So actually speaking, you can create the form in this page itself, I mean in this file itself, but that I won't recommend. I would rather ask you to keep it separate only. Okay, so what you can do is in this app one, just create a new file, okay, which is forms py. Again, the name of the files are all like standards. Okay, you cannot change it as per your convenience. You have to follow the standards. Okay, if it is forms.py, keep it forms.py. Okay, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my form. Okay. Okay, so first thing is we have to import from Django, import forms. Yeah, this is what I want. Again, forms are going to be somewhat similar to the models. Okay, so here also you see it is all like no, you have some tabs, just like as I said, in case of classes also you find some template, right? Here also it is going to be in the form of a template. Okay, so class, and what should be the form? Okay, maybe login. Okay, and here again you have to do the normal, since you have something imported, right? Make use of that. So you have forms. Okay, forms dot a simple form, right? So just mention form here again, and you have your colon, and you mention what all things you want in your form. Okay, so I can mention okay, maybe the same things, maybe username and password. Okay, so username is going to be forms, and again, best thing about this is the field names are almost the same. Okay, I mean, you will find the same names here. Okay, so you don't need to remember. So you have another. Now when it comes to forms, no, you have some parameter like label. You might have seen, right? Whenever I mean, I think I didn't close that one. Or did I? Okay, where was that? Hacker rank, right? Yeah. So when I went for this, can you see here it is mentioning what exactly am I supposed to fill? So this can be considered like the label part. Okay, so I mean, by looking at this I can know like what is it expecting me to fill in here, right? So that is what you mean by the label. Okay, so let's go back. So label equals to, I'll mention I want username only, right? Okay, and then I can mention the max length factor. Okay, so max length can be maybe 10. Okay, and the next thing is password. Let's keep it as simple as the char field. Okay, forms dot char field, in bracket you have the label, which is going to be again password. Okay, and yeah, and we can have the max length parameter again, and I can mention maybe 5. Okay, so I can keep a small password. Now here you don't need a corresponding, I mean, since this is a form. Okay, this is just a form. Okay, which is going to be appearing in some HTML file. So you really don't need any function to see what object is being created and all. Okay, I mean, in the earlier case you were supposed to get the no, I mean, you had the string function. You don't need that over here. Okay, so all you need was to mention what all things you want in your form. Okay, now we'll do one thing, we'll create a view. Okay, and then we'll go back to creating the HTML file which is going to hold this. So define, and I can keep the same name, maybe login, and it is again going to take in request. Okay, and here it is supposed to create, I mean, now you remember that form, the way we created was like a class. So if I want a object, so you have to, you know how to do it, right? The name was login, right? Okay, yeah, I have to better import it first. So from dot forms import, form name was login. Yeah, yes, so here I can have it. Yes, login in bracket, there is nothing. And yeah, now comes actually, there is one parameter called context. Okay, so what is this context about? I'll just mention it in a few minutes, so I think you will understand then. So here I can say maybe F. Okay, and it is going to refer to form, and here I have the return render, and first thing would be request. Second thing would be the HTML file. So HTML file I can mention as or what should be the name? Maybe demo.html. Okay, and I have my context over here. I know this context is not making any sense as of now. Don't worry, we'll see actually what it is all about. Okay, let me just save this. Since I created a view, I'll just do the required changes over here as well. Okay, so I have the path, which is going to refer to the okay, I'll just keep it L slash comma. I have views dot what was the view name? Login, right? Yeah. Okay, done with this. So I have like added a URL path mapping here. So this is going to be the path extension, which should take me to the view, which is login. So yeah, this is done. Coming to template, because you see the form is supposed to be appearing in a template. So yes, I need to have my template. And here I can just create a new file. And what was the name? I had demo, right? Demo.html. Make sure whatever name you are providing in your view, the same thing is being provided over here as well. Okay, because you see view is acting like a controller. So view will search for that given file, and it will fetch, and it will be providing or displaying it at the this one, right, at the UI, right? So make sure that you whatever you're mentioning at the views is what you are like you're correctly mentioning the name over here as well. Okay, now here what I need is okay, I can have some initial heading. Okay, so again the normal tags. Okay, so I can just say welcome to the demo page maybe. Okay, and I can have my form. Yeah, now there is something about forms. Okay, so okay, let's see whether if you are able to identify, I'll be happy. Otherwise also it's fine. And at least you will be trying, right? So I can mention action as maybe a. Okay, I think I can mention it this way itself. Okay, now okay, this is again a ginger tag. Okay, I'll mention F underscore, maybe just F. Okay, and here also I'll give a space, though it is not required, but then again I'm giving. And whenever there is a form, you generally get some no button, right, to press, click on that, and you do the submit, right? So that also we'll just mention. So generally it would be like input type equals, and I can say submit. And you can provide some value as well. So value can be, again, you can just mention login also, and that's all up to you. So login. Okay, that's it, done with this slash. Okay, now I think first of all we'll do one thing, we'll see what exactly happens. Okay, once we have this, and then we'll try to figure out like how things are working. Okay, so let's do that. Let's run the server. Okay, and I think I didn't close anything, right? Look at this, I can close for time being. I don't want all this. I mean, since I have a page, right, I will go straight away there. And from here, I should be going to app one, and there I have L. So let's go there. Okay. Do you find something here?
Yes, username, password.
Yeah, so this is the form. Okay, now how this is appearing, that matters. Okay, now the thing is, as I said, the things that you are able to see is because of the view, because view is acting like the controller, which is like fetching things and providing things. All those things are done through view. Okay, so basically you can consider that the logic is written at the view. Okay, and at the HTML page side, whatever you are mentioning is more like, I mean, sometimes you do mention some logic there as well, but mostly the logic part remains at the this one. Okay, view part, view side. So now here I'll tell you what is happening. Okay, so first thing, whenever it is referring to the login view, now you know that how it works, right? So from app one, okay, from app one, it went further and it referred to this one. Here I went to this given path, which is referring to the view, which is login. So then it went to here, okay, this one. Okay, now here there is some change, right? So first thing what it did was creating a form. Okay, form is, I mean, you can consider that this is the object name. Okay, and empty object. So for form, if you see, an empty object will be just a empty template, which is going to ask you for filling in username and password. Okay, that's it. So you created an empty object for the login form, which you created in the forms, this one. Okay, which asks for two parameters, that is username and password. Okay, then there is another entity here, right? Context, which was not used earlier. Whenever you had render earlier, that time you were not having context. So now you can see that here what you're mentioning, return, render. Inside that you have request, then you had the HTML file. The third thing that you have here is the context. Now the context is all about, you see, though you are creating the form object over here, but it is going to appear in your HTML file, right? So what you're saying is, in your HTML file, you will mention the key, which is, I mean, can you see, context is nothing but a dictionary kind of structure. Okay, so the key that you have is F. Okay, so whenever you mention the key, it is going to refer to the value, which is form, which is nothing but the object. Okay, which is nothing but the object for that login form. Okay, and that's the reason you are able to see this over here. Okay, this is that empty object. Okay, now if you go back to the form, sorry, not form, the HTML file, here what do you have? First thing is just a mere heading. Okay, so the heading which says welcome to the demo page, that's it. Then if you see this tag, no form tag, it is like normal HTML tag. You see that here it is mentioning some action, right? It is saying action and a something, right? Okay, that is something which I have to show you. Apart from that, if you just look at below, you find that there is F mentioned over here. So as I said, in view you are mentioning some key value pair, right, as context. So that key you have to mention here. So what happens is, when you mention key over here, when it actually comes in terms of displaying, right, at the UI, it will know, when you mention the key at the HTML file, it will refer to the value, and the value is getting displayed over here. Okay, so that is the reason you are getting a empty object. Okay, another thing is this one. Okay, so you have a button kind of thing. Okay, which is like, you click on that, and what happens is submit. Okay, and what is written over that on that button is login. So if you find, I mean, you find it here, right? You can see that there is a login button, right? So let's do one thing. Let's try to write something over here. Okay, so it has not, okay, it was not able to take me there because of one issue, and that is because of the path. Can you see what is it trying to do? It is trying to go to a path like this. Okay, that is under app 1, after L there should be a path A. Okay, that is what it is expecting. But frankly, if you see, after L there is no A, but after app 1 there is A, right? So there is one way we can mend it. Okay, so we can, if we try to modify that in this, no, we can do it here, we can do. Okay, so here I'll just mention that it should appear after L. Okay, so if I save this, okay, and let me go back and let me just once again try to do the same thing. Okay, so and you see, now I'm able to go there because it was expecting this path. Okay, app 1, after that it should go for L and then it should be taking to A. Earlier, if you see, A was something which was coming under app 1, okay, directly under app 1. So there was no in between L. Okay, that's the reason it was not able to find it. But this time I made some changes over here. Okay, here I mentioned it is going to come after L. That's the reason it is able to show me that given HTTP response. Okay, now there is one more thing. You have you people ever seen this kind of form? I mean the previous one, just a minute, let me show you. Yeah, have you ever seen forms appearing in a horizontal line like this? No, right? Generally it comes one below the other, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
So yes, we can do it, and we will do it, in fact. So the way you do it is in this tag, no, that you are mentioning, wherein you are saying that this tag is referring to the object, okay, through the key which you had in the context. Here you can mention that you want to call it in a way that it should appear in paragraph form. Okay, the way you do it is dot as underscore p. Okay, if you mention this way, let's save this file and let's get back here. Let's refresh. Can you see? Now it appears in a paragraph form. So all what we did was we just made a change here wherein we said that the key, okay, we mentioned the key f dot as underscore p. Okay, so now it is going to appear in a paragraph form, and that's exactly what is happening. Okay, are you people understanding how form is working? But then this form is useless. Okay, can somebody tell me why it is useless?
It does not have sign up option.
Not really, that's not the case. Because I can fill anything and still it will redirect me. Okay, it's not authenticating. That's the thing. I mean, I can just randomly fill any stuff, but it is not linked with any database. It is not checking. It is not performing any check. It is just, even if I just mention anything, it is just going to redirect me to this page. Okay, there is no check which is happening in the background. Okay, so that's the reason this form is basically useless. Okay, understanding?
Yes.
So just remember, forms are similar to models. All you do is you create a class which is going to be a subclass for form. Okay, form class which is belonging to the module that is forms. You provide your username, password. Since it's a form, you have to give the parameter. This is like a important parameter which is label. Okay, because in forms you have to mention, right, like what has to be filled. So that's the reason label is an important parameter over here. Once you have created your form, this has to be appearing in a HTML file, right? So before it goes for an HTML file, HTML file is something which is rendered using a view, right? So first thing is you import it over here, okay, your form, and then you create an object for it, okay. Now this object, initially it is empty, right? You are not, you know that since I don't have, if you don't give a constructor, right? If you use constructor, it will let you fill in the values. But since we don't have any constructor, it is not asking me to like add any value as and when I'm creating the object. It is just creating an empty object, right? So because of that, you have to see this object in your HTML file. The way you do it is using context. Context is nothing but a dictionary, okay, wherein you mention key value pair. The value will be the object, and the key, you can have any name over here, okay, and this name is what is going to be appearing in your HTML file here, okay. So this, you can see, if you look at the way it is, just see this, it is appearing in the, just the same manner, right? Just see, the first line is this one, right? Afterwards, you have the next thing as this one, okay. Action, it's not a part of anything. It is just saying that what will happen if you click on this login, okay. If you click on the button which mentions login, then what should happen, that is what is mentioned over here, okay. So if you say action, it will just redirect you. There is other ways also, okay. So we'll be seeing that in tomorrow's session, okay. So because we mentioned this Jinja tag, which refers to that key, which is now which will show you the value, okay. And that is the reason the object is appearing over here, and you get the form, okay. Understanding? And yeah, and the way it should appear also depends on what you're mentioning here. If you just mention F, it appears in a horizontal manner. If you mention as underscore P, it will mention, display it in a paragraph manner, okay. Till here, is it clear to all of you, or is it getting complicated? Huh? Clear? Are you people there?
I think it is little. I think we have to practice more.
Yep.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I'll say one thing. Yeah, you can practice, of course, but then this form is still not useful. Tomorrow we'll see actually useful form. Useful form means something which can help you to at least do a minimum level of authentication. Okay. So yeah, that would be much better than this. But anyhow, this was a basic form which you should be knowing. Okay. So anyhow, I think we can just wind up for today. So okay, let me stop the screen share and the recording.